Welcome back, guys, to another Zero DTE video, and today Coach Ernie is going to be talking about economic reports, so make sure you stay tuned. If you're interested in becoming a pro trader, check out the link in the description to find Coach Ernie's school community. Enjoy, guys.
Most of the economic reports that you'll see are released in the morning. Some of them are released before the market opens. Some of them are released after the market opens. And then things like actually, I don't have on here the Fed rates because they're a little less regular and they're a separate thing. But they happen at 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, depending on what event it is. But anyways, they're ranked here in terms of their potential impact, and I rank them from 1 to 10. And I include the name of the report, its description, the ranking, and then where you can find it, where you can find the origination of the report. And these are reports that you should be aware of and what their potential impact is to the market. How does that help you? I would say the way it helps me sometimes, and it's not something that I have to really be real conscious of just by the nature of our system, because we're so in tune to volatility that when one of these reports comes up or is about to be released, depending on the context of the market, where we are, because the context changes all the time, all of these reports will have the same relative amount of impact, but that impact is going to be in the context of where the market is. If the market is like super complacent, then the impact of a payroll will still be more than, say, a personal income report, but it won't have the same kind of impact as if the market is in turmoil. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
And you can usually see the impact by just reading where the VIX is and also looking at what local or current volatility is for that morning. And the way we measure that current volatility, there's many different ways to do it, but I have a novel way of doing it, and that's by looking at a at-the-money butterfly, the big-ass fly.
I've seen you do that.
And seeing what its debit is. When the debit of a big-ass 50-wide fly at the money before an economic report comes out, if it's very low, that means there's a lot of implied volatility in the air. If it's very big, that means that the market is more complacent.
Yeah, it's been pretty big and complacent. You haven't done one in a long time. Or you did one last week, maybe, but
I do them almost every day. I just don't report them all the time. Or we haven't actually taken the trade for a long time because
that's what I mean.
Besides being a report on volatility, it can also be a trade. And we don't take the trade unless the price of that big ass fly is under 25.
That's what I meant. Taking the trade, not actually analyzing it.
Yeah. So it's been consistently above 25, closer to 30, sometimes even higher than 30. And I've seen it as low as 3.5. So there's a huge range for the cost of this fly based on the amount of implied volatility that morning, and sometimes multiplied or whatever by the big picture VIX as well.
So processing what you just said there about finding the balance between reports and the VIX. Again, I don't say this in order to make accurate predictions, but it's more about the process of analyzing the information so thinking the VIX is where we're at now, and I think it's CPI tomorrow. I believe it's CPI, not PPI, whichever one is tomorrow. I'm sorry, I don't have the screen in front of me. Do you think to yourself, the market has maybe priced in some expectations in either direction because the VIX is just so low right now that you don't necessarily anticipate as much as you can anticipate any kind of like sharp and staying moves just because of where we're at? Or is that a wrong way to analyze and assess it?
It's actually the opposite. If you examine the VIX, you'll see that every time it gets really low and then hangs out there, and we call that VIX compression, it's building up almost like a coil that if there is an event, the longer it stays lower, the size of that event may have an inordinate impact on VIX. In other words, if the VIX was higher and we were all expecting something or geared for it, and then there was that same event, it might not move the needle that much. But when it's lower, it might move the needle a lot more.
A lot. Okay. So in areas or in times of higher volatility, those market reports, the impactfulness of them, even though they're maybe 8s or 9s or 10s, they're still there. Then that's when you can say, okay, maybe you're not going to get as big of a move. Because you're right. There's obviously a lot of market compression, and it seems to me what's happening today leading up to these reports.
Yeah. So with the market moving up and the VIX dropping, I'm seeing more opportunity for downside moves. close.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know when. I could be thinking about it on a day-to-day basis and just be there, Johnny on the spot. Or maybe I could go a little further out with a convex trade, maybe 3 to 5 days out, and then just be placing seeds or placing positional trades, hoping to capture a big move whenever it happens. Or a sigma drift. I might put it even a little further out, thinking that there could be end tails to it. There's a little bit of flexibility in terms of convex stack and sigma drift, where you're putting them on, how far out you're putting them, because it really comes down to the range of dates that you can use. With the convex stack, it's like between 3 and 5 days. That's more thinking about systemic type of reactions to events that happen, and you're just trying to capture that event. You just don't know when it's going to be. You might put 2 on that week and overlap them a bit. Hi, puppy. Or you might think there's going to be some lasting, and you put on a sigma drift once a week, and then you have 2 discretionaries. You might think, okay, I'll put one of the discretionaries on this week because shit's been going on, and I think I could add a little bit of strength there by adding this there in that week. So sigma drift, you put it on, in general, you're putting it on once a week, maybe every eight days out. So they're always like overlapping each other. And then the idea is that you can also take 2 optional trades that you discretionarily put somewhere in that month, within that month, and you choose based on ideas like that might come up. And of course, with the overall context of what's going on, if you think that in that context, believe it or not, it's almost like contrarian. You're thinking, man, things are really slowing down here. There could be, and instead of putting it on both sides, you might just put it on the bottom side, thinking, man, we're making all these new highs, and there's practically no liquidity down below us. If there was a big event, it would come down pretty good, and I'd probably be able to catch something.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button below. If you're interested in becoming a pro trader, remember to check out the link in the description for Ernie's school community.